We will be creating an animated scene using HTML and CSS. The scene will feature a tree in the foreground and clouds moving in the background. We will use CSS animations to create a gentle swaying effect for the tree and a slow-moving animation for the clouds. Let's start. The outermost div element with a class of wrap is used to contain the entire scene. Inside the wrap div, there is another div element with a class of inner wrap. This is used to contain the individual elements that make up the scene. The sky div represents the background of the scene. This element has a class of sky. The tree div represents a tree in the foreground of the scene. This element has a class of tree. The trunk div is an element that represents the trunk of the tree. This element has a class of trunk and is a child of the tree element. The hill div is an element that represents a hill in the background of the scene. This element has a class of hill. This CSS code is used to style a scene with a tree, a hill, and a sky. Here's a detailed explanation of each part of the code. The first few lines of CSS set the position of the body to relative and its height to 95% of the viewport height. This will ensure that the scene is positioned correctly on the page. The next line sets the position of the pseudo-elements, asterisk, after and asterisk, before, to absolute and adds an empty content property. This is a common technique used in CSS to create decorative elements. The wrap class is used to create a circular container for the scene. It has a background gradient, a fixed width and height, and is positioned in the center of the page using absolute positioning and the transform property. The after pseudo-element is used to create a gray circle inside the wrap container. The inner wrap class is used to contain the individual elements that make up the scene. It has a relative position and a fixed height. The tree class is used to create a tree in the foreground of the scene. It has a green background color and is positioned using absolute positioning. The border radius properties are used to create a rounded top for the tree. The after pseudo-element is used to create a darker shade of green for the upper part of the tree. The trunk class is used to create the trunk of the tree. It is positioned absolutely and has a height of 0 px, which means it will not be visible. The trunk is created using border properties to create a triangular shape with a brown color. The sky class is used to create the sky in the background of the scene. It has a light blue background color, a border radius of 100 px to create a rounded shape, and a box shadow to create a 3D effect. The animation property is used to create a continuous panning animation for the sky using the sky panning keyframes. The hill class is used to create a hill in the background of the scene. It has a greenish color and is positioned absolutely at the bottom of the scene. The border radius property is used to create a rounded top for the hill. The after pseudo-element for the hill class is used to create a darker shade of green for the bottom part of the hill. The transform property is used to flip the shape horizontally. The at keyframes rule is used to define that sky panning animation. It starts with an opacity of 0 and a right position of -250 px, then gradually increases the opacity to 1 and moves the sky to the right, and finally decreases the opacity to 0 and moves the sky to the right again. Overall, this CSS code creates a visually appealing scene with a tree, a hill, and a sky. I hope this explanation helps. Let me know if you have any further questions. You can find source of this video in my GitHub. I share it on description. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll do my best to respond. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.